Everyone, this is Armstrong Williams on the right side.
Armstrong.
Don't curse, speak English.
Armstrong.
Virtuous society.
Armstrong.
I dare you to listen.
Hey, turn it up. Hey. Armstrong. Get on the right side. Armstrong.
Elevate your mind.
Armstrong.
I'm Armstrong Williams on the right side.
Armstrong.
Yo, man, it's your boy K.O. And you're tuned in to the most conservative of our brothers.
Armstrong.
The Armstrong Williams Show. Please give me a break. Grow up.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Armstrong Williams Show. We have so many protesters outside today. They're protesting life, and we all believe in life. But let me tell you, it's sort of like a blizzard outside. It's snowing, it's blustery, and people are protesting. You can barely move on the sidewalks. But I admire people who are willing to stay out in the cold and the rain and protest. Ken, I didn't see you out on the street.
I told some friends that I did walk in the march this year, and it was as I was walking over here to come into the studio. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it earlier. It was a little cold, and I had some meetings, but my heart was out there with those people. I mean, it really inspires you when you can see young people. I mean, you've got schools out there. You've got old people out there. They've got to be pushed around in their wheelchairs, and they're all holding signs, and they're all out there saying that life is precious. I like that. I like that kind of community involvement, and it was, I was proud to spend my 10 minutes walking with them, and I wish I could have done more.
Why are protests important?
I think it's I think it's a key part of the American democratic experiment, frankly, because we are often so removed from power. We're a representative democracy, but other than voting every 2 years, sometimes every 4, we don't feel like we're a part of the system, and particularly when you're talking about court decisions, where you have a Supreme Court of Justices who are picked by a president, confirmed by the Senate, but not elected by the people. Americans feel like they're not a part of the process. And in this case in particular, Roe v. Wade, I think's a premier example of judicial activism. I'm very much pro-life, but I'm also a constitutionalist, which means that if the state of California wants to make abortion legal, well, I think that's okay under our Constitution. I don't agree with it. I don't like it, but they have the right to do it. But I don't think that the rights that were made up and created by Roe v. Wade and taking the people's voice out of the system was a good thing. And I think the protest reminds the justices and our politicians that the decisions they make aren't made in a vacuum, that these decisions influence people's lives, that they have a real impact, that people care about these decisions. And I think protesting is one way of making your voice heard. You know, you can take it to an extreme. I thought the Occupy Wall Street went a bit too far, and it became violent, and it almost became a parody of itself. But the once a year Right for Life march, I think is a nice reminder to the country. And frankly, if the Occupy Wall Street wanted to once a year have a march as to why they don't believe in capitalism, I wouldn't agree with them one bit, but I think that'd be a perfectly fine way of expressing their opinion.
Good point. Let me see if our guest Richard Berman is on the airways. Richard, are you there? No, he's not there. You know, talk about the recent ruling by the courts about the president's National Labor Relations Board appointments were ruled unanimously unconstitutional.
Yeah, this was a very exciting ruling that I saw today from the D.C. Circuit Court. It was a unanimous opinion by a 3-judge panel, and it's almost certainly going to be heard by the Supreme Court. Chief Judge Sentell, Judge Henderson, and Judge Griffith were were the three judges, and it was a case brought by a bottling company, as you know, Coca-Cola and other beverage companies have bottling companies that actually take the product, put it in bottles, and sell them locally. And these folks said that this recess appointment by President Obama was unconstitutional because he made the appointment when there wasn't a recess. And it was about that simple. I was a little surprised that the court got involved because these cases are often considered, and it's a funny word, they call it non-justiciable. And basically what it means is, under our view of separation of powers, decisions that are made by the Senate, you sort of defer to the Senate on how they handle their own rules. You defer to the president on how he handles his own sort of executive rules, and the courts are allowed their own purview. But this was a case where, on behalf of the minority leader of the Senate, he brought a suit, or actually the bottling company brought suit, and the minority leader also got involved with an amicus brief, I'm pretty sure, and they said, look, these rules were not followed. There was not a recess, and you can't appoint someone through the recess appointment clause of the Constitution if there's no recess. And President Obama, through his lawyers, argued, well, you never recess, so I never really got the opportunity to make my appointments. And these pro forma sessions weren't real because you weren't doing enough business. And since you weren't doing enough business over that 3-day period, I can do a recess appointment because I want to. And the court just said no.
That's not a hubris.
It sure was. I mean, and this is what he did with the CFPB and Richard. I think Cordray is how you say his last name. It's the same deal, and I'm looking forward to seeing the case that gets brought to have his appointment invalidated. And frankly, I'm really excited about the Dodd-Frank case that's been brought on behalf of a community bank in Texas and a number of state attorneys general that hopefully will find at least sections 1 and 2 of Dodd-Frank unconstitutional. But this particular case, it's remarkable. The president basically said, you're not giving me the guy I want, so I'm going to make you take him anyway. Two issues that I think this brings up. One, advise and consent, and what does that mean? And I'll be honest, I'm one of those Republicans that really does believe that elections have consequences and that the president should be allowed, within reason, to have his own choices confirmed to fill the executive roles that he wants them in. So I like up-down votes in general, but that's not what this is about. This is about the president not waiting for an up-down vote and simply saying, you know what, I'm tired of waiting. You're not recessing, so I'm going to put these folks through anyway. And the D.C. Circuit said, nope, no, you're not. And this is a big constitutional issue because I'm pretty sure that anything that the NLRB has decided since these folks have been in position is vacated as well, because if there's no quorum, the NLRB is not allowed to make a decision.
What's the next step?
It's going to the Supreme Court, and the Supremes are going to take a look at this. And, the Supreme Court...
They would probably have served out their term by then.
Probably. I mean, I don't think this is going to get fast-tracked, but I think eventually, probably next term.
So what will you accomplish if you don't remove them from these seats where it was unconstitutionally done?
Well, they're out. They're out now. I mean,
they are out.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Wait, well, you have to explain.
Sure,
that's why
sure.
I'm bringing that up.
And that's a really good question.
Yeah.
And if I'm wrong, someone out there can correct me. But to the best of my knowledge, when the D.C. Circuit makes its decision, that decision is final unless it is overturned. And the only thing that can overturn this decision is if you get something that's called an en banc hearing by all of the D.C. Circuit. And that means that the loser, which would be the federal government, the president, will have to file a petition to have this reheard by all the judges of the D.C. Circuit. I don't see that happening. So if that happens, it could get overturned. The other thing that can happen is there could be some sort of stay that is issued by a Supreme Court or a writ of mandamus or some kind of strange judicial wrangling that I've never heard of happening before either, reinstating these folks. So what we really have is those guys are out. The president's going to have to deal with the Republicans in the Senate and finding some new folks, maybe them, maybe someone else, to come and actually sit in the NLRB. And then a year from now, this big constitutional case is going to be decided by the Supreme Court, but it will have no, real impact in the sense of the horses out of the barn.
I'm being told that our guest is finally joining us. Mr. Berman, are you there?
I'm here.
I want you to know we called for you much earlier, but you were not on the line. So I just want to let you know that I was just made aware that you finally joined the conversation. But thank you for joining us.
And I can hardly hear you. I don't know if there's a switch you guys can throw to give me a little bit better audio.
What you have to do, it takes you about 2 or 3 minutes to warm up to hear my voice. So it's a process.
Well, I'm doing my best.
It will get better and better. The longer you're on, the better I sound. And we'll be back with our guest, Richard Berman, Ken Leoncynck. I'm Armstrong Williams. This is The Right Side.
Armstrong Williams returns in a moment. Attention, a very wealthy international benefactor now reveals money-making secrets used by the rich and powerful. Now you can learn how to make more money than you ever dreamed possible. Ancient secrets that have been used by members of secret societies for centuries are now being revealed. Now this money-making secret is being made available to the public. Receive the CD, Money Making Secrets Revealed, absolutely free. Learn how you can make money, achieve your dreams, eliminate debt, and develop super wealth. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and is available only for a limited time. Call and get Money Making Secrets Revealed absolutely free.
Dial 1-800-839-4522. That's 1-800-839-4522. 1-800-839-4522. Remember, 1-800-839-4522. That's 1-800-839-4522.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams. What does it mean to be conservative? Freedom of speech, freedom of free enterprise, freedom of assembly, less government, less taxes. As a matter of fact, a flat tax. Everyone should pay proportional tax. It doesn't matter whether you make $100 million or $10,000. Everyone should pay their 10%. Everyone should have something at stake in this American economy. I'm Armstrong Williams, expressing what we mean by conservative traditional value.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams with an opportunity to own a piece of paradise in Nassau, Bahamas. Spectacular land prizes, 8,000 square feet, 20,000 square feet lot, affordable prices, hilltop properties with views of the magnificent sea. Just call 242-677-3120 or 3121 or go to info@rightsidewire.com and leave your information.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Richard Berman is the longtime president of the Washington, D.C. based lobbying and consulting firm, Berman and Company, Inc., which specializes in strategic research and communications. Throughout the years, Mr. Berman has been a stalwart supporter of business and industry over consumer safety and environmental groups. Mr. Berman, welcome again to the show. And what are your thoughts on the courts overturning the president's appointments as being unconstitutional and the fact that they've had to vacate those positions?
Well, Armstrong, there's a couple of different ways that you can attack this ruling, or you can support it. And I know that you've covered some of this in your earlier segment. From the constitutional standpoint, I'm not going to get into the weeds with people on this because you probably don't have enough time to get into that. But I think the most important part here is to really talk about why there was objection to these people who were confirmed under suspicious circumstances at best. We are talking about a change in the National Labor Relations Board, which really is the arbiter of workplace democracy, and tries to balance out the rights of unions, employees, and employers. And the people who have been appointed to the board by President Obama have for the first time demonstrated more of a unified pro-union bias in a way that has never been evidenced before at the Labor Board. And whether or not their dismissal stands, and I think it will, whether or not it stands, one thing is clear, and that is the president has appointed people who are better suited to represent unions as private practitioners than they are suited to somehow make a balanced and unbiased judgment on cases on behalf of employees and employers and unions. These people have basically hijacked the intent of the National Labor Relations Act, and they almost ought to have moved their office from the government's office building over to the headquarters of the AFL-CIO, so that it would be at least more appropriate that their orders were somehow aligned with the organization that's paying for their office rent.
Richard, what's the boundary that and I'd like to get back to the case itself in a little bit, but what's the defining line that you see as someone who's suitable to sit on the board and someone who's not? And the reason that this is dear to my heart is it seems that every new president, there are countless arguments about the president's choices to fill the roles that are his constitutional duty to fill. And part of me is always concerned when we as Republicans, whoever it is on our side, is challenging individuals, because we're going to get it 10 times back from the Democrats. So I think it'd be helpful if you could articulate who you think or what the characteristics of someone on the board should be that would make this election of consequences. It would have to be a slightly pro-union person to be an Obama choice, but that would also be acceptable and not someone who's going to try to totally rewrite federal law as you've described.
Well, it's a great question, and obviously either you're pro-employer or pro-employee to too much of a degree, and that determination is always in the eye of the beholder, so to speak. Much like any other judgeship, where people have to appear before the Senate and answer questions, these people should have had to have gone through a significant confirmation process where they could have at least been asked to state on the record where they were coming from on certain basic principles. Nobody ever gets asked, how are you going to rule on a future case? but they would at least be able to disclose whether or not they were in favor of an interpretation that was pro-union to a degree that would be unacceptable to the average person. That didn't happen, and in hindsight, their decisions to overturn basic labor law that has been established in some cases for as long as 50 years, in hindsight has proven that these people are not balanced and are not objective and are basically operating, as I say, as a branch of the AFL-CIO. We've had this before from a member, or maybe even two members, but not a majority of the labor board that is so pro-union that it is without precedent.
Do you think this was an intentional decision by President Obama to choose these individuals to make this non-recess appointment and basically rewrite the rules of how appointments are made, because he knew that they would be unpalatable to the American public, during their confirmation hearings if the facts came out, and that that this was a top item on Obama's agenda. I'd sort of like you to speculate a little bit, because I was so surprised when it seemed to me he made such a clear violation of the Constitution by appointing people during a recess that wasn't a recess, and I just couldn't quite figure out why he went to the mattresses, as it were, for these individuals. Do you think that was that intentional, or does it just his buttons got pushed enough so he decided to go for it, and now he's getting his hand smacked by the D.C. Circuit?
Well, keep in mind that the unions lost a major legislative fight over the so-called card check rule, where they wanted to have legislation passed so that people could be basically pushed into a union on the strength of a signature on a card that they would have had to have signed in public. It was a major loss for the unions. Now we're into early 2012 or late 2011, and we're coming into an election where the president is obviously looking for the unions to not only put troops on the ground, but also to donate lots of money to his campaign. And the unions make a request. Now, I'm only speculating here, but I think it's a fairly good. I think it's fairly visionary, if I must say so myself. That these guys said, "Look, this is what we want out of the National Labor Relations Board, and we have some names that we would like to submit to you." That's not an unusual occurrence. And these are people who are decidedly pro-union, and the president is probably looking at this thinking that the labor board is not a major agency. It's certainly not a cabinet-type position that people are being appointed to. The only people who care about the labor board are employers with some sophistication who have labor relations departments, and he's going to stack it with people that make the AFL-CIO happy. And if he has to do it by stretching or breaking the rules, so be it. That's what the unions want. And if in fact it's found out later that the president pushed too far, well, what's the consequence? There's no monetary damage. He will have done what the unions wanted. And if at worst case it becomes the status quo ante, so what? And I think he just simply paid off the people who are helping him financially and otherwise in ways that they required.
And how about Richard Corduroy? Because the CFPB certainly was a hot topic issue. Do you think that appointment's going to get vacated as well?
Well, obviously you have to file another suit in order to get that done, but I'm sure there are parties interested in doing that, so it very well may be the subject of a new case that moves its way through the system.
Yeah, I think they'd be lining up this afternoon, based on the dicta in this ruling, and I think that particular case will have even a larger consequence, because the CFPB has been in the crosshairs of everyone in the Republican Party since, and particularly with its mortgage rules that leave much to be desired. So what's Obama going to do? These positions have been vacated. Is he going to resubmit the same names?
Well, I think that there'll be some negotiations going on here. First of all, the board does not have a full complement of five members. And so there generally has been 3 members of the president's party, 2 members of the opposition party. Right now you've got 4 Democrats there. So there needs to be some negotiation on the part of the president with the Republican leader to see to it that there is, in fact, more balance. And what has happened in the past is that names have been put up as a package and then allow the Senate to confirm or to deny the package. That seems to me the most logical outcome here. It's conceivable that one or more of the present members, especially Griffin, who is the subject of a RICO action, he came out of the operating engineers. The operating engineers are the subject of a criminal investigation. Griffin was the general counsel. So he may have too much baggage for a reappointment. And in that case, you have 3 members left who are there. You might have 2 Republican members who are offered up. And I might stress a full hearing on these members so that the Senate can question them as to their particular bias. That might be the most logical outcome.
I don't understand who would advise the president to appoint individuals that obviously, unashamedly favors labor on any issue before the panel. How could they be so blatant, Richard?
Well, I think that when you appoint judges to the bench, you're always looking to appoint people who are friends of yours. And again, I think in this particular case, look, the biggest institutional player in the political system today is organized labor. And the National Labor Relations Board and the Department of Labor are, in fact, franchises of the AFL-CIO.
You meant franchises of the Democratic Party.
Well, no.
Hold there. We're coming back. We don't want you to leave us. Richard is with us. Richard Berman, Ken Leoncynck. I'm Armstrong Williams. We'll be back.
Armstrong. For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Life is full of unexpected changes. Everyone has potential to do wrong. And when they choose to do it, contact the Bucksell Group for your private investigation needs. TheBucksellGroup.com or by phone at 202-243-9746. Whether there's an instance of a cheating spouse, child custody, process service, or security, don't continue suspecting. Get closure so that you can move on with your life. Visit TheBucksellGroup.com now or call 202-243-9746. If you think it's happening, it probably is.
To travelers along the road of life who have fallen asleep at the wheel, to the many who woke up in time to avert disaster and get back on the righteous path. For the ones who crashed and survived and now adhere vigilantly to a virtuous and righteous path. Finally, Armstrong Williams' much-anticipated new book, Reawakening Virtues, gives his insights into these daily challenges and much more. Reawakening Virtues is available in bookstores and at Amazon.com.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Most Americans simply have never been taught the basics of money management, let alone how to secure their financial future. But there is hope. Financial Education and Literacy Advisors, also known as FELA, does what others don't. FELA teaches financial education. If you'd like more information about providing a financial wellness program for your employees, or a credit-bearing college course in personal finance, or other valuable programs, please visit myfela.com. That's myfela.com, or send an email to info@myfela.com.
Elder chicks is an exciting part of the fastest growing segment of the population. Women in their 70s, 80s, and older who are mastering the art of a senior life. We're no longer unseen and unheard. We're providing role models for each other and the baby boomers who are fast approaching retirement. Join our virtual community. Hit www.elderchicks.com on your computer keyboard.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
So, Richard, I was saying, Richard Berman is our guest, and Ken Leoncynck, as I'm saying, as we were going out of the break, that they're the franchise of the Democratic Party.
Well, you can look at them as a franchise of the Democratic Party or of the AFL-CIO because, quite frankly, on any given day, I can't tell the difference.
Now, Ken, that's fair. I see you frowning.
I've been thinking about it, and it is fair, but it's sad. It's sad.
It's the truth,
because organized labor has changed from such a powerful force for good to I mean, honestly, you can't pick a cause that they're on the right side of. And I've got personal ties to this. My immigrant grandfather, he was a part of organized labor in the early 20s, and he was from Poland, and that's where the Solidarity movement got rid of communism with organized labor.
Under George Meany, I didn't think that George Meany would ever be considered in a good light, but compared to these guys, he actually was a more favorable character to deal with. Lane Kirkland as well. I'm now going back into the 60s and the 70s. I think today there's more self-dealing with these guys. There are two people that get indicted every week inside of organized labor. You've got people who are screaming about the 1%, and yet they're making salaries that put them in the 1%. And
that's the truth.
Listen, when you look at the recent numbers that came out of the Department of Labor just a couple of days ago, less than 7% of non-government employees are in unions, and yet they have hijacked the Department of Labor and the National Labor Relations Board that have something to say about workplaces of all employees, of the other 93% that aren't in unions. And they have disproportionate power because when you look at the amount of money that the public employee unions and the non-public employee unions collect every year, you are talking about $24 billion. And $24 billion is not needed to negotiate collective bargaining contracts. And what they do with some of that money that is used for political purposes but does not get reported as political purposes is they buy off the Democratic establishment, and that in turn gets you the situation that we've had today, where Obama appoints people who are not judges but are in fact advocates for a point of view in a judgeship, and that's wrong, and I'm glad that at least it has been stopped in this one particular case.
Let me raise this with you, because you have, along with
Armstrong, Armstrong, Ken, I've got one problem here. I knew this interview was going to go until 4:30, and I've got a conference call that I've got to be on. I'm going to have to ask you to let me go on this one, but I'm happy to come back and talk about it at any other time.
Scott's honor?
Scott's honor.
Okay. I'll take you at your word because you were late for us. We had a lot to talk to you about.
I know. I thought you guys were calling me, and so I'm sorry for that.
That's okay.
That was my mistake.
That's okay, but we're good. As long as you, Scott's honor, we'll have you back soon. Because
okay,
let me tell you something.
Good to talk to you.
Because you've gotten a raw deal in the press. You're a good man.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. So Ken, what's going to happen in 2 months when we revisit the fiscal cliff?
I think it's going to be meet the new boss same as the old boss. I just don't see. And I'm not naturally cynical, but I just don't see what can happen.
Let me stop you before you talk about what I asked about. What is going on in Virginia and other places with the Republican Party and the Electoral College, gerrymandering, the same format that Democrats used in local elections before, which won the president 4 electoral college votes in Nebraska. And the governor of Virginia is going to have to sign it into law because the Democratic Party has focused so much on national elections. They've neglected the state and local elections, and it's the state and local officials that get to decide the shape of this country, and it's coming back to not bite the Democrats, but to swallow them. That is a big story.
I think it's huge, and we saw that in my home state of North Carolina. You know, the changeover of Democratic seats to Republican seats in the House of Representatives, the big seeming compared to what the Democrats thought they were going to get, win of electoral votes for Romney. It's that local, it's the local map that makes the national election. And you're right, that's going to be really big news because no one's watching. This is something that, the Republican Party, I'm very frustrated with us because I think some of the things that the left accuses us of are true. I think we are out of touch. I think we do have some terrible messaging. I think that we don't promote the best people sometimes.
The Democrats have terrible messaging.
Well, absolutely. Look,
but they save it all for the Republicans. they demonize the party.
They do demonize the party, and there are things that are frustrating. But one of the things that Republicans do really well is the Republicans do a really good job of drawing the maps to ensure that the most Republicans get elected, and they draw the maps in a way that is racially neutral, and they pass muster through the Department of Justice immediately, and they just do a fantastic job of that. The Democrats are really good at organizing at the local level. Republicans are terrible at organizing at the local level. If we could get 1/100th of the organizing capacity at the local level that the Democrats have and combine that with our ability to draw these maps, I think we would see a huge change in 2 years. And in 4 years, we'd have a Republican president.
But bear this in mind. And remember, this was employed. This is what Howard Dean wanted to do. Howard Dean wanted to use the same format that Republicans are using now, and they kicked him out. Okay, they kicked him because their attitude is the winner in the congressional elections keep all the electoral votes. That's what it boils down to. What is happening in this country? Everybody's focusing on the national election, the president, and that's what the president, because the president has dismantled the game plan of the Democratic Party obliterated it over the last 4 or 5 years. But what nobody is talking about is why, yes, the Democrats may have won the last 2 presidential elections, they've lost substantial ground on the state, the governor, the state representatives, the U.S. Senate, members of Congress. They've lost that battle, and they continue to lose it.
Absolutely. And the one place where I think Republicans have been a little slower than others is in the Senate, and I think we're going to see that turn in the next election. But you look at the House of Representatives, you look at local state legislatures, you look at the governorships, we're doing remarkably well. One place we're not doing well is with mayors. And I think that's probably just because of there tend to be the demographic of more Democrats in urban areas. But other than mayors, the Republicans are, it's a herd of charging elephants, and it's gonna be huge, I think, in 2 years. So long as as we're able to capitalize on it, and so long as we put up the right candidates.
But they're already capitalizing. They're already capitalizing.
Look at our House of Representatives right now. But more importantly, look at the state houses right now. That's where they're really capitalizing. That's where the rubber's meeting the road. We didn't do all that great in the Senate, and honestly, we didn't do all that great in the House of Representatives, and we know we lost the presidency. But in the state houses, we did really well. Now, it's not that big of a leap to move that to winning congressional districts. And those are the people that are drawing the maps as to who is running in what congressional district.
What is it going to take for people to begin to like the Republican Party, trust the Republican Party, and start swinging votes and support their way?
I think we need to do a intentional job of talking about why we're Republicans, about why we're conservatives, and just take head on, and battle back against the sort of slander against us. I think we need to show that our party is so much more diverse than the Democrats claim. I think we need to show that our party is about empowering the poor and the disenfranchised and the marginalized, and trying to give people a better life. And I honestly think that message is not getting out. That what you hear is Republicans like to keep people down. That's not what I see. I see a party that says we want to empower you. We want to give you the opportunity, the best that you can be, to reach your highest potential, and we want you to make your own decisions. We don't just consider you a vote that we can rely on. You're not just some classification and identity. You're not just a Hispanic voter or an African American voter or an urban voter. You're an individual, and we want you to do your best. And if we can get that message out, I think people are going to trust us again.
Can you trust the Republican Party again? 1-866-620-6650. 6620-1803-733-5620. We'll be back.
Armstrong Williams returns in a moment.
Attention, a very wealthy international benefactor now reveals money-making secrets used by the rich and powerful. Now you can learn how to make more money than you ever dreamed possible. Ancient secrets that have been used by members of secret societies for centuries are now being revealed. Now this money-making secret is being made available to the public. Receive the CD, Money Making Secrets Revealed, absolutely free. Learn how you can make money, achieve your dreams, eliminate debt, and develop super wealth. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and is available only for a limited time. Call and get Money Making Secrets Revealed absolutely free.
Dial 1-800-839-4522. That's 1-800-839-4522. 1-800-839-4522. Remember, 1-800-839-4522. That's 1-800-839-4522.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform healthcare? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
And welcome back to the Armstrong Williams Show. Ken, tell our audience a little about yourself.
Well, that's the hardest question you've asked yet. I'm so used to talking about the issues. I am. Someone asked me, "Well, what are you? You have such a background." I'm an attorney. I went to Yale Law School. I'm a Episcopal and Anglican priest and canon, and I've had churches and started schools and ministries throughout mostly Texas, but a huge amount of work in Africa. And I sit on boards of orphanages and schools throughout South Sudan, the now government of Sudan, North Sudan, Uganda, and Kenya. And so I've got a real heart for that, but I'm also someone who's very interested in economic development and politics. So not too long ago, I left a staff position from the House of Representatives Financial Services Committee, where I was doing oversight and investigations as an attorney, and ran for Congress and got killed. But it was a big field, and I think I did better than some expected me to do. But I didn't do as well as I wanted to do, and I learned a lot about the political process. And since then, I've kept involved in these important public policy, legal, and international development issues because I care. I've gotten to know a lot of politicians and a lot of people involved in the political process who are out for number one. And it's all about the power, or it's all about the prestige, or sometimes even the money. But, if I could pick one thing about who are you, it would be that I'm a priest and that I'm a minister of the gospel and that I care about people. And I'm a Republican because I actually really do love people. And I really do want the best for people, and I really do care about the poor. And I think the policies of the Republican Party, while not all of them are correct, God's not Republican, but I think the policies of the Republican Party are closest to that of my faith. And I think that when we work together and we find common ground, Republican and Democrat, that's when we're doing God's will. So who am I? I'm a Christian trying my best who's got a law degree, who likes preaching and enjoys asking questions of your guests.
Can the poor do more to contribute to their own well-being and to the overall society? Do we demand enough of what we can term to be the poor?
I don't think we demand enough of the poor, and I don't think we give enough to the poor either. And I think that it's the fact is we do a really good job of safety nets, and we do a really good job of at certain times of people's lives taking care of them. But the one area that we do a very bad job with are retraining. And I'm talking about that adult poor person who has passed the age of being able to get more education and is now involved in a dead-end industry or service job. I think we do very little for that individual to try to help them get out of that dead end and get into a new career path where they can really help themselves. I remember it's the gospel narrative where Jesus said, if you give them fish, you feed them, but if you teach them to fish, they'll feed themselves forever. I think there are people that we're leaving behind because we don't provide enough of an opportunity to help them move forward. Now, on the other hand, there is another type of poor folk that I don't think we demand enough of, and I don't say demand in this cruel way. I mean demand as in ask for them to be the very best that they can be, and believe in them. I think in our country we like to write people off sometimes. And you see a homeless person on the street and you think that's all they'll ever be. I wish, we could see a homeless person on the street and say, what's the cause behind this? Is this a mental illness? Is this something that, just a little bit of a psychiatric treatment and this person could be back to being a husband, a father, a mother, a working member of society? So the answer's both. I think we don't allow people to live into the best they can be, and we don't demand that of them. And I think in some situations, we don't provide enough to help people through some of those really difficult transitions, because if you've made it to 30, 35 years old, your education's kind of over. And what are you going to do if the manufacturing plant moves out of South Carolina?
You know what? I have to challenge that. The best way to educate yourself is reading books every week, man. 2 books and the right books. Your education never stops.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that educates you as a person. But even if you are going to do that, and you're in a town where the plant's gone, and you're reading books, I think that gives you dreams, and that brings on the entrepreneurial spirit. So I think people really can get that entrepreneurial spirit into themselves, and then with a little bit of a helping hand from the private sector, from the church, and from the government, I think we can help those people transition from where they are into the new economy. I mean, that would be exciting to me. But you need to have people who are willing. And you're right. You got to start by reading some books, and the right kind of books. And you got to start by really wanting to better yourself. But the fact is, and this is something important, I don't think we realize it very often, but a lot of us are just really lucky. A lot of what I have in life, I don't deserve. I got really lucky. I had good parents. I had a good education. Yale Law School decided to take me. There are people who haven't had as many good breaks along the way, and I think it's part of our job as society, as the church, as individuals, to help those people who haven't gotten those breaks and to give them a few breaks. Not a handout, because a handout just makes someone angry. It makes them less than. It says you can't do it on your own, but a hand up. And I think that's something we can do.
But we're not doing it.
No, sir.
And it is even more abysmal than it has been. Why? We elect these people. We put these policies in place. We put in these programs, whether it's aid for dependent children, whether it's welfare, whatever it is, we put it in because we want to help the poor, but yet we cripple them and make their circumstances worse.
I agree. You know what I think we need is 1,000 points of light again. I think we need everyone out there to say, I'm going to donate 10 hours of my time each month to volunteering, because the government programs, there was a Freudian slip there, the government programs aren't going to be enough, and in fact, they may be hurting somebody. We can't stop President Obama, and he's trying his best. God bless him, he's trying his best. But what we can do is help him. We can create private programs to deal with some of the problems that he's trying to fix, so he can turn his attention to other things.
Yeah. So, as you look ahead, what do you think the president's legacy is thus far?
I actually have a very positive view of his legacy thus far, and I remember the day he was elected, and the being in New Haven, Connecticut, and the people in that town, and parts of that town were very impoverished and have had a real rough go of it. People in that town, for that night, believed that they could do anything, and they could go anywhere. And they really believed that thing that your parents should tell you when you're a kid, which is, you can grow up and be whoever you want to be. You can grow up and be the president if you want to. They believed it. And I think President Obama has failed us in a lot of ways, but his legacy is still very positive because of who he is, where he has come from. He is a smart and elegant man. He seems like a fantastic dad. He's got these beautiful kids and a beautiful wife, and you look at him and you think, my gosh, maybe I can be like him too. So I'll quibble with him on policies till I turn blue in the face, and I'm not going to go too easy on him. But what is his legacy? Right now, I think his legacy really is that of hope. And my real hope is that he takes advantage of this second term and doesn't squander that, but instead uses that power that he has and really helps make this country a better place and really draws us together. That he doesn't take this as a time of believing, okay, I've won twice, I can do whatever I want. Instead, he says, you know what? I'm going to show I really can be a bigger, better man, and I'm going to be the real leader. I think he's got a chance, and I really hope he does it.
Well, we all pray that he fails. Not fail, that he doesn't fail, that he succeeds. Because
Absolutely.
when he succeeds, we all succeed, and it is certainly my prayer that the president succeeds, and because there's no doubt in my mind that he loves this country, and he's a product of his philosophy.
Absolutely.
What he believes in, what emanates from him has to do with his own upbringing and his teachings and the things that he learned. It may be totally out of line because I really don't think he understands who we are as Americans and really identify with the American experience.
I don't think he understands the people of North Carolina. I don't think he understands the people of South Carolina. I really don't think he gets it, but he's got a chance to get it. And I don't think it's because he's got a bad heart. I think he's got a great heart, right? I think he's got a great heart, and I think he's got a chance if his advisors will let him really see those people and hear what those Americans want. They might realize that some of the things on his agenda aren't the things that many of his supporters have on their agenda. And maybe he'll turn it around and put their agenda first. Now, who knows, if wishes were dollar bills, as they say.
Well, it is our prayer, it is our hope.
Absolutely.
And there's still time. Listen, Ken, I cannot thank you enough for joining us, and I can't thank our earlier guest enough, Richard Berman. Do you have a website?
You can reach me at www.kensays.org, or I'm on Twitter at Ken Says So, KenSaysSO. So follow me and look forward to seeing y'all out there.
Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. God bless. Enjoy your weekend.
You too, Armstrong.
Hello, everyone. This is Armstrong Williams on the right side. Armstrong. Speak English. Armstrong.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams. What does it mean to be conservative? Freedom of speech, freedom of free enterprise, freedom of assembly, less government, less taxes. As a matter of fact, a flat tax. Everyone should pay proportional tax. It doesn't matter whether you make $100 million or $10,000. Everyone should pay their 10%. Everyone should have something at stake in this American economy. I'm Armstrong Williams, expressing what we mean by conservative traditional value.
Elder chicks is an exciting part of the fastest growing segment of the population. Women in their 70s, 80s, and older who are mastering the art of a senior life. We're no longer unseen and unheard. We're providing role models for each other and the baby boomers who are fast approaching retirement. Join our virtual community. Hit www.elderchicks.com on your computer keyboard.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser?